Hello everyone, this is Brian Bentley at CoinOpTV, bringing you gameplay and commentary for the Talos Principle on the PlayStation 4. Now, the Talos Principle was a PC game that had a little bit of had a little DLC called Road to Gehenna. Now that has been kind of all combined together and put here on the PlayStation 4. The Talos Principle is it's a first-person experience. There's not really, I wouldn't use the words, there's combat. There are obstacles to you solving puzzles, and some of those obstacles involve getting in the way of things that will either explode or shoot you. So, there is combat, just not on your part. Now, quick warning, if you have, for whatever reason, I mean, there are a lot of puzzles in this game. If you do not want these two particular puzzles spoiled in A6, move on to one of our other fantastic videos. For those of you that just want to continue on and learn a little bit about the Talos Principle, so far, at this point, you've kind of figured out that you're not flesh and blood human, right? You're definitely some kind of android. Let's say that. I don't want to use too many words because I don't want to spoil kind of how the story is going. But I mean, look at your hand. You're obviously not skin covered with covering bone and muscle. So. You have a few different objects here. You'll notice that you'll see the little balls. They have the lights that come around them, and if you're within that, it will come and explode on top of you. But you do have some things at your disposal. I use this jammer to open up those electronic doors. Use the door to keep the bad object inside. So I'm going to use this jammer now. There's a gun on a wall, and you can see the sensor. I'm going to use it to jam the gun and stop it from shooting me. And now you know there's another gun, because you can see the lights. So I'm like, okay, well, what else is there? Oh, hey, look, there's a switch to turn off the gun. Now that the gun is turned off, I can unjam it. So, so there's a lot of those, bits and pieces of puzzle action, and this is something that the game does very well at showing you how to utilize the objects, and it teaches you, okay, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to use the jammer on this piece to get past this piece, and then once that's done or turned off, you're going to go back and get the jammer and bring it with you because you're going to need it in another part of the puzzle. It does have this sometimes where, if you finish part of the puzzle, a gate will go down and you'll be able to escape easily out the front door then. Due to, some puzzles you kind of can't go back. Like, once you kind of figure out how it works, you really can't go back. You have to use this, for lack of a better term, skate patch. I do hear that bloop bloop sound mean there's a computer nearby that you can interface with. And we are going to go find a computer to interface with in just a second, but that's kind of like the second part. So this first part, there are different objects. So there's jammers and companion cubes. I'm sorry, they're not companion cubes. They're hexagonal or hexadonal, something like that. They, to not call it a companion cube. You'll notice there's a computer nearby. And the second part I'm going to go into right now is this sort of computer, game interface. It's like they have this, section where you're very focused on the puzzle action, which is, I don't want to use the word immersive, but it keeps you within the world, right? And in that world, there's the voice of Elohim, who's kind of like this, voice from the sky, voice of God. We're not really sure. And then, you're doing the puzzles, and that's kind of interactive. And then there's the second part where you're having these interactions with this computer, and the computer kind of wants to, it's almost like the computer starts to have a life of its own, a personality. And in a way, the personality of the computer is trying to bring out your personality. And there is a lot of identity, thought, like very philosophical in that it looks for, what's the identity of a person? What is consciousness? What is it mean to be human? And so it kind of has that, aspect of artificial intelligence and how it works, and leaves a lot of clues, and then the computer actually gets to the point where the computer starts saying things like, "Are you sure you want to listen to that voice coming from the heavens? I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't listen to it. I'm just saying. I'm not saying you shouldn't listen to it, but maybe you shouldn't listen to it." So all of a sudden, and of course then there's obviously conclusions of, going back to, depending on how you look at it, and I am not talking about your own experiences with the Bible, but there are, stories such as the Garden of Eden. Maybe is the computer the snake? Is Elohim, Yahweh, God? We don't know. And that's something for you to, discover on your own. I'm not going to talk about my own experiences with it, but that's something you need to discover on your own through the game. And I think, excuse me, I think it does a very good job of that. On the other hand, I will say that the Talos principle takes itself very seriously. So there's going to be a lot, there have been and will be a lot of comparisons to Portal. One of the things about Portal is it had that magic design of when you actually complete something, whether it's one way, another way, however you think it should be, you have that moment of, aha, I'm the smartest person ever! I, figured this out, and no one could possibly have figured this out before me. Just like this. Except, of course, the designers and the level editors and everyone who's played the game before you has figured it out pretty much either that way or almost a very, very similar way. But it gives you that feeling of, I'm the smartest person alive. Oh, yeah! And there's something wrong with that. Alright? Now, you'll notice that the titles, that each puzzle has a title. And I'm going to admit that this one took me a little longer than it normally would, because I did not pay attention to the title. So the title says Deception, right? And I don't want to completely spoil it, but the level tells me it essentially tells me it's going to deceive me, and I let it. So how crazy is that? Now, you'll notice that right off the bat, I'm going up on top of this ledge because I know that I'm going to have to bounce lasers. And lasers of different colors cannot be crossed. So this is kind of a second part. So I showed you the jammers already. The second piece you really get are these reflectors, I guess. Prisms, I think is what they're called in the game. And the whole thing about prisms is that you grab a laser, and you'll notice that on the door there is a switch. The outside rim of the switch fills up once that laser is connected. Once that laser is connected, then whatever that is attached to works, right? So I'm now setting this up to open up this other door, right? So I'm opening up this door, and I'm looking at the puzzle here, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not really sure what I need to do, but I need to open up that blue one to open up the next blue one, so I can get the piece behind the door. Now this is where the deception part comes in, because you are not going to use that door at all. Again, sorry about the spoilers, but you're not going to use that door at all. So the stream, they purposely say you can't cross the streams, both as a reference to Ghostbusters, as well as, letting you know that anytime the beams are touching, they will automatically negate each other. So now here I think of myself, I'm like, oh, okay, I can now bounce the laser through to there. Okay, well, that's not really a big deal. I just have to figure out how to bounce the laser. Okay, this is not a big deal. I've got this. So I take this off, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, I broke the lasers. Okay, well, now I got to go back and fix it. So lasers are definitely a huge part of kind of how this works. I think the mechanics of the lasers are really, works out really, really well. the way it's kind of set up. And now here's where you can almost hear the gears in my head turning as I'm doing this. I'm like, I don't understand. How am I supposed to do this? I don't know. I don't know. So now I'm kind of gonna, there's gonna be a second where I'm gonna figure it out. Now you, as a thing, you can actually break the beam yourself with your body. So the lasers are really interesting. The next thing you get is the the companion cube object. After you get the companion cube object, there is the third object is a fan, and so you kind of blow objects or yourself across to to solve different puzzles. And then my personal favorite is the last one, which is where you record yourself doing something with the objects, right? And as long as the recording is going, then your other person is quote-unquote alive. And if your other person is alive, then you are able to, do that. So I can record myself standing on a switch for 30 seconds. And during the 30 seconds, that switch is being pushed, and I can go and do whatever I need to do. So there's both there's kind of an aspect of learning, think about how you want to solve the puzzle with yourself as a co-op partner. At the same time, you're also thinking about it in terms of time, right? So all of a sudden now, you're breaking into that fourth dimension, right? So you're like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I need to do this for exactly 40 some seconds so that I can figure this out. This is kind of when I figure out that going through this door is not going to work. Excuse me. So then I am. So that to me that has been so far the best mechanic is the actual, and I do like the lasers a lot. Don't get me wrong, but to me the best mechanic thus far clearly has been the lasers, lasers, and then the recording. So I just want to give you an idea. I'm really enjoying it. Again, Talos Principle does takes itself a little seriously. I'm not going to lie about that. Whereas Portal kind of does a little more tongue-in-cheek while it knows it's being clever. I have nothing wrong with that. Whereas the Talos Principle does, again, it kind of goes, hey, I'm being philosophical, and there's nothing wrong with that. Which there isn't, right? There's nothing wrong with it being philosophical. Because I think we all should take time to think about that within our own lives. Anyway, that's going to be it. Hope you really enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you go ahead and click the like button below. There's a little thumbs up under the views. That's how we know you've been listening, and leave your comments below, because I love reading them and responding.